Hey guys, Disqualified Magic here, and two players were already disqualified from Pro Tour New Mexico, or Pro Tour Ixalan. I've heard it called both. Could be Pro Tour Albuquerque, hey, whatever. Either way, they were kicked out of the tournament, so it's not just, oh, you got a round loss, you got a game loss. No, it's like, get the heck out of my tournament. Bye-bye. Now, the first one, this one's very debatable, and I think intent and details and circumstances would really help in determining what happened here. I know which side of this I'm on, but I'm still a little bit on the fence. So here's what happened. LSV, also known as Luis I can't even say his damn name. LSV, or Lumpy Space Vargas, was playing against Ixalan in the 15th round. And I guess either somebody around him or LSV himself was like, I'm at club, you guys. You're not allowed to do that. Judge. I actually do a pretty good LSP impression. And so the judge comes over and he's like, oh my glob, what? Yeah, the judge is a lumpy as well. If you're like, what the heck is Des on right now? First of all, a lot of Halloween candy, okay? A lot. And secondly, it's an Adventure Time reference. Watch the show. So 15th round, they're going to turns. Because, I don't know, they might have been 1-1, they might have been 0-1, 1-0, I have no idea. Details are significantly lacking in what they're referring to as Pro Tour Ixalan's head official statement, or statement from the head official. So the statement seems a little bit contradictory, but basically they say if played to the end of that turn during turns, it would have resulted in an unintentional draw. Both players revealed their hands and discussed a possible outcome of who would win based on the available information at the end of that game. So how far into turns were they? Were they on the last turn? Were they on the first of the 5 turns? I don't know. They said turn, not turns. So who knows? And so then it says, at that point, Yao mentioned that he needed a specific card to win. So in other words, he was saying, I could draw into a win condition. So naturally, instead of playing it out, because normally you'd say, do you have a way to win? No, definitely not. I can't do 17 damage in 3 turns. It's not possible no matter what I draw. And then the other person goes, oh, me neither. And then you just end it and write down draw on the slip and get on with your lives. Now that is a polite, courteous thing to do, especially at a really long tournament. And I don't have a problem with that. Take a guess what part out of this I do have a problem with. At that point, Yao mentioned that he needed a specific card to win, so he revealed the top cards of his deck to see if it would influence the decision of whether or not to concede. Now, first of all, where did concede come from? Because you said unintentional draw would have been the result. If Lumpy Space Vargas didn't have a way to win, and then Ixalan didn't think he had a way to win, like if he revealed cards and like, oh, nope, that's not the card I needed, okay, I forfeit? No, you go to the day, you take the draw. I don't even get why you wouldn't do that other than basically match rigging, which is partially legal at these tournaments for some reason. It's like, hey, if you lie about the results of what actually happened, you'll get more points and I don't need the points. Yay! And then that's like perfectly legal. They need to stop that. Now, sharing the prizes or any kind of splitting or any of that, that's actually still allowed, but you can't talk about it. Or, okay, you can't talk about it before you've determined what to do. I've got an idea because I read like an 8-page article about the exact rules about this. Just don't let people do that. Don't let people lie about the results and misrepresent what actually happened in the damn round. If you didn't get enough points or, oh, you need to win in 2 instead of win in 1, so you lie and say that you won in 2 because your opponent agreed to it. How about you don't let people do that since it's cheating? It gives you an unnatural advantage and makes it look like you did better than you actually did in reality. It is ridiculous. Anyway, guess what you're not allowed to do in a professional Magic match or at F&M or honestly even at casual. Okay, casual doesn't have a rules enforcement level, but you're not allowed to, while the game is still going, randomly grab cards off the top of your deck and look at them and then make a decision based on that. Yeah, unless you have a scry ability, you can't do that. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Okay, so this is really complicated, very controversial, and there's people on both sides of this. So let me try to explain like why people think he should have done this and why you definitely shouldn't do this. Once again, intent and details. Wouldn't it be nice if we had any of that? Okay, tournaments can drag on. When you have like 1,000 people playing Magic, yes, some people are going to go to turns, obviously, and some people are going to take their dear sweet time because now it's like, oh, now I don't have to play fast because there's no timer ticking. Who cares about everybody else? Instead of a 50-minute round, we're going to make this a 90-minute round, which would, by the way, not be allowed. I heard a rumor that the judge will just come over and be like, guys, we want to start the next round. For God's sake, just end it. And I think they could step in and quite literally end it. They could just be like, how many turns you got left? 4. yeah, end it. This game is over. Bye-bye. And then they just like write down that the last game that they were involved in was a draw, basically. I at least heard a rumor that that's what they do, just to keep the tournament running smoothly. And yes, it messes with the results of what would have happened, but, you know, in their defense, play faster. People have stuff to do. The tournaments get real long if they let people drag it out. So anyway, were they both just agreeing to be courteous, be polite, and save everybody some time? Were they honest players who are just like, here's all the cards in my hand, here's all the cards in your hand, let's think about this. Okay, yeah, there's no way for either of us to win. Let's just write down a tie and go to it. No problem. So if that was the intent, if they were just trying to be polite and expeditious, I guess you would say, and keep the tournament rolling, I mean, were they the absolute last two players playing? Probably not, but maybe, I don't know. There's just not enough details. But I do feel like, you know, maybe that's what it was. At least with LSV, that could have been what it was. So then Yao's like, oh, I do have a way to win, but, oh, I just can't be bothered to play this out, I guess. See, at that point, a normal player would have said, yeah, I do have a way to win. I wouldn't have even said, oh, it's not in my hand yet, because then maybe he has hand disruption. Maybe he could stop you from drawing a card. I don't know. Either way, you could just be like, yes, there is a way for my deck to still win within the amount of turns that we have. Let's keep going and play it out, because maybe. And then when you fail to draw the card you need on the last possible chance you can draw it and still win with it, then end it and say, oh, I didn't draw it, and by the way, it wasn't in my hand. Do you have a way to win now? No? Okay, boom, concede. Save people some time. Save a couple minutes. But, I mean, if you think about it, going to turns, you can play as slow as you want, but you don't have to say, oh, should I play this before this? Or should it all gets super, super, super simple. If you can't win, try not to lose, and all your decisions should be take the least amount of damage and just avoid losing. And if you can win, then go for that and only that. Well, or a mixture of the two, just optimize it. But you don't have to worry about, oh, will I need this 4 turns from now? Should I sacrifice this, or will that come back to bite me? There's like 3 to 2 turns left, depending upon who went first. It's not that hard. So just hurry up and play it out. I mean, that's what you really should do, in my opinion. But saving other people some time, okay. But here's the thing, okay? What if he had the ability, like he looked at there's 3 turns. So he pops the top 3, and then he goes, oh yes, the win condition is in here, and then slaps him back down. Do you think maybe LSV would have found a way to force him to shuffle his deck if he had some sort of card that did that for like no reason? It would be totally non-constructive, totally random. Like if it just says return target card to the top of owner's library and then shuffle it. Well, then he would do it. So you're giving him a way to beat him, which obviously that's not really cheating, but you're being incredibly dumb. Or the top 3 cards are not what you needed, and so then you make decisions differently, and you force yourself to shuffle your deck for some reason. You pop that last Evolving Wilds. I mean, what if there was a decision tree left where knowing what the next 3 cards were would be advantageous to you, and what if your opponent didn't catch that helped you? So if you look at the top 3 cards and you say, oh, well, maybe I might have a narrow way to win. Okay, let's proceed. And then you go to it. And then that same turn, you shuffle your library for some reason, some shuffle effect. I don't know if your opponent would be smart enough in that case to catch on to what you did. You didn't have the winning card in your top 3, so you shuffled. Or what if you would have activated an ability that would make you shuffle, but instead you saw the win condition in the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you purposely didn't do it because you needed to draw them, or needed to draw that one card to win. Well, then you got a problem. So it's like, either way, while the game is still going, you cannot look at the top couple cards of your deck and then make a decision based on it, because you might use the information to cheat if the game proceeds. And then just going back to the basic rule, during a game of Magic the Gathering, you can't arbitrarily look at the top cards of your library without reason to do so. I mean, that's got to be like rule number 0.0001 or something. Like, come on. So, like, I get what he was doing. If he was just like, oh, let's just speed this up. I don't want to play this out. Oh, we're wasting everybody's time. Oh, let's do it. Then, okay, like, I would side with him, and I don't think he should have gotten disqualified. But then again, I don't know him. He could have been shady. He could have been using the information for decisions if they would have kept playing. So in that if scenario, you gotta disqualify him. But I would have given him a round loss, not an entire tournament disqualification. Well, especially if the answer was, no, I don't have the win condition. Cool, shake hands, sign the slip. I'm gonna go get a pretzel with some nacho cheese. Then it's like, okay, then he legitimately did save everybody some time, not attempted to cheat. But if he looked at the top 3 cards and then kept playing, that I would have a problem with that. even if his intention was to be, just expedite the game and save everybody some time, that's still really not something you should do. Once you already know what's coming, you can't continue the game. And how would a pro player not know that? So I'm on the fence, but I lean very slightly towards they were either being lazy, careless, or he was maybe intentionally trying to cheat. You don't know. I mean, I wouldn't throw that out. So anyway, let's move on to the second, I was going to say cheater, but honestly, I think it's a little generous to call Ixalan a cheater. Ixalan, the accidental rules breaker, or whatever. All right, this one, okay, in my opinion, he was cheating. Once again, in my opinion, we don't know intent, we don't know if it was an accident, but circumstantially, he was cheating. So there's a Taiwanese pro player, as they called him. I think that might be a little generous. I mean, everybody thinks they're a pro player, but I don't know his record, and I'm too lazy to look it up. His name is Huang Hao Shan, or something like that. I don't speak Taiwanese. In fact, why does somebody with a Spanish last name never get caught cheating? Because I would pronounce that so perfectly. And if it was some grand conspiracy, oh my gosh, it would sound so much like a telenovela. That would be awesome. All right, so I'm going to read their ridiculous version of events, their head official whatever statement that he made, whatever. When Huang was in a disadvantageous position on the battlefield. Keep that in mind. After activating the ability for Long Tusk Cub, which honestly, playing a deck with Long Tusk Cub, that should be a disqualification by itself. They need to ban the card and anybody who's ever played it. But anyway, the indicator for the amount of energy the player had at resolution was not indicative of the cost that was supposed to be paid. Yes, that would be the amount printed on the card. If it says 10 and then the card says 2, why would you expect the energy indicator to say 2? No, it wouldn't be, quote, indicative of the cost. It would be indicative of whether or not the cost was paid, which is, I assume, what they meant to say. Anyway, once this happened, it was brought to the attention of tournament officials. This led to a thorough discussion with players to determine whether the action was intentional. A thorough discussion. That just sounds like a bucket of fun. The old he said, she said, oh, it wasn't me, I'm innocent, just soccer diving level nonsense. So it says, as the error in regard to energy spent benefited Huang, and because the detailed investigation could not clarify that this was simply a mistake, so he couldn't prove it was a mistake, the decision was ruled that the action was a misrepresentation of the game state. And to preserve the integrity of the tournament, we're a little bit past that. The player was disqualified. I assume disqualified means from the entire tournament. That's pretty nuts. But if you ask me, yeah, this would seem to be intentional. From the comments, other people who were there and who knew the board state and were watching it or heard about it secondhand, everybody was like, okay, he was losing, and it's pretty clear he knows what Long Tusk Cub's ability costs. Maybe he was getting frantic because he was losing and he just forgot. I mean, whatever, but you can't prove it. So it's I would, lean towards him artificially misrepresenting or manipulating the amount of energy counters he had. And this is why instead of paper or dice, you should probably just use physical energy token cards. 1 card equals 1 energy. Simple. Dice can roll and people can do all kinds of little shifty sleight of hand crap to make it look like they ticked it down when they didn't, and paper, you could just skip the auditing trail and make it look like you never spent 2 energy 4 turns ago. Nah, just let me see you pick them up, spend them by putting them back on a stack, and now we're all happy. So anyway, the word on the street is he was losing, and they did say he had a disadvantageous position on the battlefield. The way most people are describing it is just a desperation move to win. So totally intentional. He knew that he could, maintain the game and not lose, I guess, if Long Tusk was a little bit bigger within a couple turns or whatever. Or maybe he activated the ability 5 times but only had the energy for 4. I mean, I just don't have the details because they aren't releasing them. And I think we all know that even if there is footage of this match, I'm not going to bother to watch it. I would rather do anything else for 30 minutes. I'd rather drop more carbamide peroxide in my left eye, which, by the way, if you haven't heard about that, it was not fun. So this one's pretty clear cut. I mean, maybe he just made an accident. Maybe he wasn't thinking. I don't know what round it was. I don't know what time of day it was. I don't know how much sleep he got. I don't know how much caffeine he had. It's all these things, but a lot of people are really leaning towards, nah, he did this on purpose. So let's just go with that. So yeah, we'll just say they caught one cheater, I guess, and then completely kicked him out. So that's good because people trying to do crap like that. I mean, somebody came from my old LGS and played at my new LGS, and they're playing Energy Marvel, and they were activating the ability for 1 less than it actually said for an entire game and a half, and I didn't catch it because I was just like, oh my god, I have to go up against this deck, and I was just checked out for the whole game. I wasn't watching every minute detail, and I should have known if he was from my old LGS that he was going to cheat. I mean, duh. But of course, in his defense, I could have just read the dang card or paid attention to what his little energy counter said. I mean, eventually I was paying enough attention that I caught it. I said, wait, weren't you at 11 and it's got to tick down by this, but you're at this? He's like, oh crap, this costs this much. I'm like, oh God, don't even tell me you've been doing it wrong the entire time. But in his defense, again, those are really hard to count. It's like an optical illusion once they get past like 4. Wizards should have done what they do with generic mana costs and just do like a little circle with a number in it. Anyway, so like I said, in this case, I think he did it on purpose and he just wasn't happy with losing. And that's why I can't stand these people who have that attitude. Now, if you're playing for what, like 50 grand or whatever in prize money, okay, it's not okay, but it's understandable. It's a little bit more like I can see where he's coming from. But people go to F&M with this attitude. You know, it's always the try-hard pro wannabes. They show up with like the top deck in the world according to the last tournament results or MTG Goldfish, and they build it no matter what the cost is, and then they just have to win. So if they start losing to a deck like mine that's, you know, built to be competitive specifically against the top 3 decks, which is what I pretty much always build, then oops, I accidentally held 8 cards in my hand. Oh, oops, I accidentally flipped up 2 cards. Oh, I better shuffle. You know, just crap like that, because they think they're entitled to win, you know? So whether this was his attitude going in, like, oh, I'm the best, I win so much, oh, I'm just gonna, you know, turn this around because the other thing is like, oh, I'm sure my opponent's cheating, so I'm gonna out-cheat them, I'm gonna cheat back. Like, maybe that was his process of thinking, and honestly, at the Pro Tour, he wouldn't be that far off. So, I don't know, I mean, without the details, it's hard to really say, but those are the 2 people that got kicked out so far, until some people on Reddit watch the tournament frame by frame and then pick out, who knows. Seriously, usually people get caught after the fact. It's actually kind of funny. So, Lumpy Space Death signing out. I'll see you guys next video.